Since 2020, I have taught people 9 languages that I do speak, but a further 27 that I don't speak. How? Let me explain. But first, if you are here for the first time, I highly recommend that you join my Language Sparks email club. You can join here with the little card. You can join at the link in the description below, and this will give you your language learning audit plus regular language updates from me every single week about how to learn languages better. Highly recommend. Here. I'll pop the links all over the place so you can sign up really easy. But for now, let's get into this then. So how do I teach you a language that I don't speak? It is really very simple. I don't teach languages. Instead, I teach you how to learn a language. And that is a much more valuable skill. But why? Because with this, you can go on to learn the language that you're currently learning better, quicker, easier, all of the things. Plus, you can then reapply that same set of processes and principles that I teach you to learn any language that you want in the future, again and again and again. All languages can be learned using the same repeatable set of processes. And that's what I teach. It also means that you're not wasting your time learning what is considered worthy from someone else's agenda, from a teacher or a tutor or an exchange partner. Instead, I teach you how to find out and figure out what is worth learning for you. And, just in case that wasn't enough, on top of all of this, the skills that you learn to learn how to learn languages better are massively applicable to other areas of your life as well. So this sort of work isn't just an investment that improves your language learning, it improves your entire life, because everything we do, you can cross over and apply to other areas of your life. It's like a win-win-win-win-win. So why do I do this then? And why is this not as popular if it's so incredibly valuable? Well, the simple answer is that it's what we expect. We expect to learn a language. We expect to want to learn French and therefore find a French tutor. And so that is what is there. It's a sort of supply and demand thing, right? But years ago, I was in that situation. I was teaching French and English and Spanish, and the same thing kept happening where I would go to my tutie's house and I would set up at the start of the lesson. I'd say, so how did things go last week? What did you learn? What did you practice? And the answer would be the same. Well, I got busy last week, or, oh, well, this happened and then that happened and I completely lost track. Oh, I forgot what I had to do. There was so much reliance on that 1 hour that we had together that the rest of the week became just blank. So naturally, when I sort of figured this out, I wanted to begin to include this in my lessons. But of course, there's still only so much of the how-to of language learning that you can fit in and weave into a language-specific lesson. And then I realized that this isn't just specific. This problem isn't just for French, Spanish, and English learners. This is across the board. The amount of people that I meet, that email me, that casually mention in the street in a conversation what I'm doing, and someone will say to me, oh, I'd love to learn a language, or to become fluent in Spanish is really high on my bucket list, or oh yeah, I'd love to be fluent in another language, wouldn't it be amazing? Like it's a thing that we all want if we don't have already. So why is it so hard? And there's a lot of reasons that it might be so hard, that it might be something that we all want but don't have and don't get. Some of that includes that we don't know how. Right? We have these sort of bad memories of not very effective lessons in school. We don't remember anything from those lessons. And the time that we have now is precious. So we don't want to waste our time learning a language if it's not going to be effective. If we think in school, actually, it didn't really work, how is it going to work as an adult? There's this gap between knowing that it didn't work and knowing how it's going to work now. We don't have that information. And that last bit, our time is precious. Because we're so busy, we don't have the time, the effort, and the energy to waste on something that isn't going to work. We don't want to end up really giving it our all to learn a language if actually that isn't the most effective way and it's not going to get us the results that we want. We're not going to become fluent. We're not going to feel confident and able to have a conversation, because if it doesn't work, then it's not going to be enjoyable. And if it's not enjoyable and it doesn't work, it's not going to be easy to fit into our lives. And in other words, this all comes back to the three really core elements that all language learning should be, and that is fun and functional and flexible. And that is why I do what I do, to make sure that as many people as possible across the world know this and are able to apply this for themselves. Regardless of how busy you are, you have that innate ability to learn a language. We just need to work together to unlock that so that you can make it fit around your life and it just becomes as normal as brushing your teeth. So how do I do it? How do I teach you a language that I don't speak? You become your own teacher. And that may feel kind of scary at first. After all, like we said, if it didn't work in school, how is it going to work now? And that was a professional teacher and it didn't work. How is it going to work now if you're out here on your own and you're not a professional teacher? Well, the truth is that we remember more things when they are more emotionally connected to us, when we have these personal connections. And when you are in control and in charge of your learning and what you're learning and how you're learning it, you are much more likely to remember what you actually learn, and it's much more likely to stay and be retained for you. And you're not on your own here. You have me to guide you through this process as you become your own teacher, so that you can take control, you can take autonomy over your languages, and you can really successfully become fluent in any language on demand. How does it work then? Well, I teach this primarily via my program Language Life, and this works for any language. That's how I've taught people 27 languages that I don't speak, because I've given them the tools, the skills, and the knowledge to go away and apply all of that stuff to those languages, even if they have different writing systems, even if there's very little resources out there, and even if they are languages that are typically deemed as difficult. Of course, some of the work that we do is really closely linked to those core language skills. So thinking about reading and listening, writing, speaking, vocabulary and grammar. But there's more too around topics like goals and habits and mindset and motivation and people and integrating languages into our lives. And it's only when we consider all of this as a whole that we really begin to see the full picture of what is possible. So often we'll focus on really wanting to get better at one skill. Like, I really want to learn more vocabulary, or I really want to be able to speak fluently. And when we do that, it becomes like blinkers on. We go straight forward with the speaking. We don't pay attention to anything else. We just try and speak. And that does us a disservice, because what happens there is we miss out on all of the other things that actually would make us better speakers. For example, listening skills mean that you can understand what's being said to you. Vocab and grammar mean that you have more to say. And understanding more about mindset and motivation mean that you actually feel confident enough to speak in the first place. And when you understand these core principles, you can apply them right away to your language for your specific situation, and you'll be learning quicker and easier than ever before. And that is how I teach you a language that I don't speak. But perhaps the biggest question here, and I get this question a lot, is how does it work for different languages? How is this adaptable to different languages? Well, for starters, because I'm not teaching you a specific language, we're not wasting time on getting into the real fine detail of all of the case endings by rote and really having to memorize every single verb conjugation in a really boring, monotonous way. You will find your own ways to do those things. Absolutely, they're important. I'm not undermining that. But going about that the same way as everyone else is not going to work. Instead, we need to figure out who you are and who you are as a learner, and how you relate to this language and how you want to learn this language, so that you can really be doing this in the best way for you. It's really important to me that you have this time and space throughout the curriculum of Language Life to really think and reflect and apply what we've just learned to your own situation, to figure out, how does this work for me? Do I need to adapt anything here? And if you do, you're not left high and dry. Like, I know that sometimes it might be that you join an online course and it's just the online course, right? And then you have a question. Where do you turn? Who do you ask? So here with Language Life, you have your own self-study curriculum, but you also get the direct support and feedback from me throughout as well. So two ways that happens is, one is the Question Bank private podcast feed. So let's say that you go through a lesson in the curriculum and you're like, yeah, this is really cool, but in my situation with my specific language, I'm not sure how this bit works. No problem. Ask away in the Question Bank. I will respond with a personal podcast episode for you, and there you go, question answered. Alternatively, if it's something that you wish to discuss a little bit more privately, we can do that too. At the end of every module in the curriculum, you have a chance for a one-on-one check-in. So this is a space where you can just discuss that adaptability and your specific situation to make sure that everything is working for you and that everything does have this opportunity to really fit and to really make sense. Because if it doesn't, it's not going to work, and I really want this to work for you. And that's why we have those end of module check-ins one-on-one, and we have the Question Bank as a private podcast feed throughout. You don't have to sit and wait on a Zoom call for a whole hour for the question. You can get your questions answered ASAP and then listen and to my answers on the go in the best way, at the best time for you. And you might be wondering too, well, wouldn't I benefit from a more language specific program? I'm not sure I'm ready to become my own teacher. I do want a bit of guidance, a bit of direction. Here's the thing, language specific programs, courses can be really great options, of course, but there is something to remember about that. In a language specific course, you are still following someone else's idea of what is important to learn at any given moment. You're still going to have unnecessary to you vocab to learn. You're still going to end up with gaps in your knowledge. When you join Language Life, you'll be able to actually choose what is and isn't worth your time and attention. So if you're in any language specific courses already, you'll be able to use them much more effectively because you'll have this concept, you'll have this understanding of how to use it. Plus, there is such a benefit of being in a group program with learners of multiple languages. There's so much that you don't even realize about the language that you're learning until you hear someone else say it from another perspective, because they're learning a different language, so they're seeing it from a different angle. And then you hear that question and you think, wow, yeah, that's relevant to me. And you build this muscle of being able to adapt things to you and to your own scenario as well, which is really, really powerful. And these are the sorts of questions and conversations that there's no room for in a language specific course. Whereas in Language Life, we have that space for these sorts of conversations. It allows you to go deeper and to really experience your language on a new level, which is pretty cool. And there we go. That is how I teach you a language that I don't speak. If you are intrigued and you want to learn more about Language Life and join, you can do so at the link in the description. I'll pop a little card above my head as well. And if you want to hear more from me on a regular basis about topics like this, then I highly recommend that you join my Language Sparks email club. You can do so again at the link in the description. I email multiple times a week, really digging deep on all of these language topics that don't always get enough airtime, but really should. And yeah, I think you're gonna love it if you enjoyed this video. That is it from me this time. I will see you very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye.